Welcome to the Ringer NFL show. I'm your host, Sheil Kapadia. Today, we are taking a look at the NFC matchups during Wild Card Weekend. We got Rams at Panthers Saturday afternoon. We got Packers at Bears Saturday night, and then 49ers at Eagles in the late afternoon window on Sunday. What is the most interesting thing about each of these matchups? That's what we're going to talk about. My guest today is the Ringer's Billy Gil. Let's take a break. We come back. We talk NFC playoff matchups. The Ringer NFL show is presented by FanDuel. FanDuel's got it all. Same game parlays, quick bets for jumping in live and your way so you can build the bet that fits your play. Plus, don't miss out on the NFL playoffs all month long. Download the FanDuel app or head to FanDuel.com/RingerNFL to get started. 21 plus and present in select states or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. All right, we are back here with Billy Gil. We are talking NFC playoff matchups in the wild card round. What's the most interesting thing about each matchup? Billy, let's start with Rams at Panthers, the old Saturday afternoon. Panthers are big home underdogs here. I'm curious what you're going to say here. Because I mean, they're 10.5-point underdogs at home. I think everyone expects the Rams to win. But what is your most interesting thing for this game?
Sheil, I feel like we're aligned here, like we're connected. We don't even know it, but our minds are in the same place. Because I was going to say my most interesting thing about this, and I know this isn't a gambling show, and I know we do a lot of spreads and a lot of gambling and all that, but the -10, the heavy favorite there on the road in the playoffs, interesting. Because we talked about it, a couple days ago when we were talking about this matchup, and a lot of people writing the Panthers off, like, if you listen back to that episode, I was writing them off as well. But I did a thing, Sheil, before this episode. You know what I did?
What's that?
I went back and I rewatched the matchup. I watched the game summary. I watched the condensed game. I did it for this game. I said, you know what? We have big, heavy implications here for the playoffs. Happy playoffs, by the way, to you, Sheil, and to all those other. Oh, and by the way, PSA, because I forgot to do it last week. If you're out there and you're listening, cancel your Red Zone subscription because you no longer need a Red Zone subscription. So cancel that now so you save money every month. Now, big time playoff implications moving forward. Obviously, every game is an elimination game. Now, I went back and I watched the games. This game, very close. It was somewhat miraculous by the Panthers to win the game. It took 3 turnovers, took 2 interceptions, took a late fumble, but they kept that thing close. The Rams still almost came back and tied that game, forced overtime, or won that game. But that spread is massive, especially for a road team. I don't know if you've done any research, looked it up, how often it is that you have such big spreads on the road in the NFL, but it's something that catches your eye for sure.
I did do that. I actually did that exact exercise. I wanted to know just home teams that are underdogs of 7 points or more. Who were they and what happened in those games? So let's take a little trip down memory lane here. So 2010, Saints at Seahawks. You remember that game, the Beastquake game. Seahawks are 10-point underdogs. They're 7-9. No one's given them a shot against the Saints. And they beat the Saints. Not only do they cover, they beat the Saints 41-36. So you had that. 2011, Steelers at Broncos. Tim Tebow. Were you a big Tim Tebow guy?
Was that Billy? The Tebow game with the one reception, the walk-off touchdown that he had? Oh, Tebow.
Well, no, was it that game? Or was that I actually can't remember.
He was very corny, obviously, but I wanted him to succeed. Didn't end up happening.
Okay. Didn't end up happening, but it did happen in that game because the Broncos won 29-23. They were 7.5-point underdogs in that game. And then 2020, the Bucs at Commanders. Do you remember this one? Billy, Tom Brady versus Taylor Heineke. The 11-5 Bucs against the 7-9. They were called the Washington Football Team. This was that era, the Washington Football Team. And the Bucs won, but they didn't cover. So the last 3 times we've had this happen, the underdog has covered all 3 times and has won 2 of those times. So that brings me, Billy, to the most interesting thing for me about this game.
Okay.
And that's what happens if the Panthers actually pull the upset off here. Okay. Because I don't think anyone, when you're in content, sometimes you want to take that zag and you want to say, I know, no one's going to just pick the Panthers outright. I actually think you're going to have a hard time finding like one person picking the Panthers to win this game outright. Mm-hmm. But it can happen. That's why they play the games. It's not going to be me. Oh. But if it is the Panthers, think about all the ramifications. So short term, you have the Panthers are the 4 seed. If they win, now all of a sudden, if you're one of these other teams, the Bears, the Eagles, the Seahawks, you might get to face the Panthers in the second round with a chance to go to the NFC Championship game. So that's one thing that can happen. And then the second thing that can happen, Bryce Young, we talked about him, I think the first time you were on with me, and we say, seems like a likable guy. Mm-hmm. We could go hang out with Bryce Young, me, you, Bryce Young, go have a meal, maybe have a drink, whatever.
Dave and Buster's probably. Yeah. I think Bryce Young's someone that likes to action with his meal. You know what I mean?
That's right. I smoke him in Papa Shot.
Rainforest Cafe or something like that for Bryce. He likes a themed restaurant, I
like that. Little chain, he's got his go-to. Yeah, I agree with that. And so Bryce Young, do the Panthers, does this change what they think about him? Because remember, they have the option, the 5th-year option they got to decide this offseason. But they could say, forget the 5th-year option. We're signing him to a big contract here. So that's the second thing. And then the last thing, and I want to know what you think about all these. Matthew Stafford, he's under contract for just one more season. Mm-hmm. So if they lose here, do they say, you know what? We got to go all in. He is maybe the MVP, maybe the MVP runner-up. We have 2 first-round picks. Hey, Max Crosby. Oh, you're available for trade? We got some draft. Do they do something crazy this offseason and build the roster and say, we're taking one last shot at it here in the offseason because we were so disappointed with that loss at the Panthers? If the Panthers win this game, I think all those things are in play.
We were talking about it a little bit earlier today and you brought it up. This could be a situation in regards to Bryce where the Panthers, who were out on Bryce Young last year, had it not been for a freak, car accident or whatever, Andy Dalton would have finished off the season. They claim that they would have started him again, but who knows if that actually would have happened.
Car accident, yeah.
Do you remember who was it? The Ryan Fitzpatrick, whose career ended because of a water slide accident that he denied was a water slide accident all those years later. He's still if you bring it up, he's like, that's not what happened. Car accident for Andy Dalton. So anyways, we get Bryce Young. They probably would have moved on from him this offseason had he not come back last season, finished out the season. Huge question marks coming into this season. He now wins the division with them, takes them to the playoffs. If he wins a game, this could be a Daniel Jones, New York Giants situation again, right? We're like, oh, hold on now. We found a quarterback that could win a playoff game. We got to lock him up. And then he could go back to being kind of Bryce Young that he's been. Because what do you do if you're the Panthers? You're now coming off of a playoff appearance, a playoff win. You're not sold on this guy. Do you tell your fan base, hey, you know what? We're going to start over at quarterback again? Because as a playoff team, what quarterbacks this offseason are going to be around for them to potentially draft? And then you're kind of playing a dangerous game where you're hoping you get a quarterback next season. So I don't think that a quarterback change is realistic in this situation, right? So you may already, because of the fact that you're even in this position, have committed to Bryce Young, which could set your franchise. I guess it's not setting it back because we talked about it last week. They've never had back-to-back winning seasons, including this season where they didn't have a winning season. I mean, this potentially, if we look back 10 years from now, the history of the game could be one of the more important games that didn't seem to really have any stakes the way things may play out moving forward.
It would be the wildest outcome of a first-round game probably of our lifetimes. I'm saying that off the top of my head, but I don't know if that's true. I have no idea. Sometimes you just talk, and then when the words come out, you decide, do I actually believe that or not? And I think you sensed that from me as I was saying it. Yeah. But I was just giving you the spreads. Teams haven't lost that were 10.5 point favorites. The one was a 10-point spread. So it would be one of the biggest upsets in the first round in the playoffs of our lifetime. So again, if we find anyone who picks the Panthers here, maybe we should just pick them. Should we do it for content?
Yeah, I'll do it. I don't care. I don't have the reputation that you have.
I don't have the reputation, but now I feel left out and I want to be a team player. So let's just both do it.
Sheil, I feel like I'm corrupting you. I feel like I've come on here and you are this well-respected football journalist. And people are coming on saying, we need to hear what Sheil has to say about that. And then boom, I show up, and now we're here saying that the Panthers are going to not only cover the spread, they're going to beat the Rams in the playoffs, and it's going to set off all of these other things down the line in the history of the NFL that's really going to throw this offseason into a tailspin early on, 1 week in, right?
Here's how I'm looking at it. If the Panthers win, we're going to make their little sizzle reel as the only people who actually believed in them.
Okay.
And so I like where we're going with this. Here's what it would take. You mentioned it. You watched the first game. Few turnovers, little special teams magic, maybe, maybe you get a punt return, something like that, block a field goal. And here's the other thing. Here's what I want Dave Canales to do, actually. They should not punt in this game.
Oh.
They should be going for every single fourth down. You're huge underdogs. The other team's offense, you mentioned, you're respected, whatever. I was crunching all the nerd stuff earlier today, Billy. There is no scenario where the Panthers defense is just like forcing 3 and outs. They're not going to be able to stop the run. They're not going to be able to stop Matthew Stafford or Puka Nacua. They're not going to be able to rush the passer. So if you're the Panthers, you need to hold on to the football. You need to score. You need to have long possessions, shrink the game. Dave Canales, if I see Dave Canales punt on like a 4th and 1 from midfield, all this goodwill we've given to the Panthers is out the window. That's Rams-Panthers, the first game here. All right, second game here, Billy. We got Packers at Bears. Oh, Sunday night.
Big one.
Chicago. Love it. What is the most interesting thing for you? Bears are 1.5 point underdogs. So not big underdogs at home, but this is our second home underdog. What are you keeping an eye on?
What's interesting about this game, Sheil, is this little rivalry that seems to be going on between the two head coaches. And it's somewhat gone under the radar because it seems as though this might be a one-way rivalry that Ben Johnson has created here. Because Ben Johnson, when he came out, he had his introductory press conference. He came out and he said, you know what? I enjoyed beating Matt LaFleur twice a year. That's why I'm going to take this job. And Matt LaFleur, was kind of like, okay, what do I do with this situation? Yeah. So Matt LaFleur was a guest on Bussin' with the Boys not too long after that situation. And they asked Matt LaFleur, like, hey, what's going on between you and Ben Johnson? He's taking shots at you in an introductory press conference. And you know what he said?
What did he say?
He said, I don't really know him that well. There's no beef here. So it seems as though Ben Johnson decided, you know what? I'm going to set the tone here. We got a rivalry going on here. I'm going to take shots at the other coach. So he took the shot. Then, Matt LaFleur tried to kind of like de-escalate the situation. Then they played 2 times. They had very short handshakes after the fact. So it's kind of like, maybe there is a little bit more going on here. And then this past week, after the game, week 18, we had a situation where decisions had to be made. He said, you know what? We're kind of locked at the 7 right now. Let's not do that situation. I'm going to rest everyone. Let's give Jordan Love some extra time to rest. They've already lost Micah Parsons this year. They've lost Tucker Kraft. So let's get everyone nice and healthy. It doesn't matter. Now, Ben Johnson, who's the up-and-coming coach, he's like the guy that's like, I'm going to go out there. They had Caleb out there. They had everyone out there. They ended up getting the 2 anyways because the Eagles kind of punted on the situation, the 2 seed. When they asked him about that, he said, hey, why are you playing everybody? Other people are resting people this week. You got the 2 seed. What are you doing? You know what he said? We play football. Now, is that possibly a veiled shot at LaFleur here? Is this going to be a situation? We've had 2 great games between these 2 teams the last 5 weeks. The last one went to overtime. But this quarterback or this head coach situation, the 2 of them throwing shots, it seems like it's one way right now. But there's no better way to make this an actual beef, an actual situation where LaFleur is going to have to respond than for Ben Johnson to knock him out of the playoffs. You have to take him seriously at that point.
You have to. And it's also my most interesting thing. And I don't think it is a media creation. I think the fans are into it. I think Ben Johnson saying that when he got the job, and then Matt LaFleur doing the Don Draper. I don't even think about you at all, Ben Johnson. But then they play each other. And now it's like, Ben Johnson might actually be a good coach. And then, to your point, this week, I was doing the research for this pod. Sports Illustrated says Bears Ben Johnson turns up heat on simmering feud with Matt LaFleur, saying some teams, they rest their starters. We don't. We play football. That's the full quote there. So how about this, Billy? We had Sunday night, we talked about Ravens-Steelers, which I think has long been considered. Hey, this is, Collinsworth was talking about it on Sunday night. Hey, there's rivalries, but then there's Ravens-Steelers. You can feel it. Ravens-Steelers. It's been going on for so long. maybe that was the end of that. Not the end of Raven, but this era of Ravens Steelers. We don't know what's going to happen there. Maybe Bears Packers is going to take over as the rivalry in the NFL. You mentioned it. 2 memorable games already this season. Ben Johnson is the villain we need. He has some of the it's the Sean Payton effect, I would say, where it's like he thinks he's God's gift to coaching football, but then you're kind of like, well, he's might be awesome at coaching football also. So he thinks so highly of himself, but then you're like, all right, I kind of understand why he does, because he's really good. So he's escalating this rivalry. Fan bases don't like each other. Same division. And I look at just the makeup of the teams going into this game. I trust both the offenses. I trust both the play callers. LaFleur and Ben Johnson are terrific. I don't think either of the defenses are very good. So I think we're going to get a close game. We're going to see some points in this game. And I'll tell you what, 11:30 comes around Eastern time. I'm watching that handshake. I want to see what happens there. If LaFleur wins, does he finally fire back and say something? And if Ben Johnson wins, who knows? I mean, he is a bit, he took the shirt off in the locker room with the speech, and he is a fun new character in our lives. So I can't wait for this game.
I do wonder, though, when you're saying you're going to watch like 11:30, see exactly what's going on with that handshake. Let's say that the Packers win. LaFleur wins. Do you think that he is more inclined after that win to then say something like, I got you, like now you can shut up? Or do you think a loss is what kind of puts him over the edge? Because I feel like he's a tea kettle right now. Like things are simmering and you can only take it so long before you burst. And that's probably where he is at this moment.
I think if you lose, you can't say anything, because what are you going to say? The other team won. What are you going to say? You look like a sore loser. But if you win and you sent Ben Johnson packing for the offseason, I don't know that he would say anything at midfield, but I think at the press conference, maybe he does like one of these, like, I think we really benefited from sitting our starters in week 18. And then maybe he looks at one of the reporters and goes, no one winks anymore, but maybe he brings back the wink a little bit, and now that goes viral, and now he's feeling good.
You know what I'm thinking? And look, Ben Johnson, if you're listening to this, any coach, LaFleur, if you're listening to this, this is what you say. First line of the press conference, they go and they ask you, like, what did you think? What did you think about this game? If you're Ben Johnson, you say, I told you, I like beating Matt LaFleur twice a year. But if you're Matt LaFleur, they say, like, what did you think about this game? He goes, like beating Ben Johnson twice a year. It works for either one of them. It's out there for either one of them to escalate this by using that line from the introductory press conference. Again, just bring it right back. There's nothing wrong with that line.
I love that. That was the third meeting, but
you still beat them twice a year.
It's still twice a year. And my favorite part about that hypothetical, Billy, as a former beat reporter, was your hypothetical question. What'd you think about this game?
Yeah.
You're scribbling that down in the notebook. Don't overthink this.
When you went into those, like how many of those did you have like written down? Like, I don't know. Like, let me just throw out the cliche one here to get things started.
Well, it actually depends on the team. Like in Seattle, it was a smaller group of reporters. So I felt like I would go in there and I was locked and loaded. I might have had 5 to 10 things written down. In Philadelphia, I'm like, I'm lucky, my friends are going to be yelling over me this entire time. If I can get 1 to 2 questions in, that would be a miracle. So I didn't have to do as much prep there. But thank you for asking. Right.
Yeah,
I can't wait for this game, which is not on Fox, correct? Not on Fox.
No, I think this is a prime game. You know what? Game. Now I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's a prime game, and it's not going to be a prime game. I'm going to do that thing where you see me looking to see exactly where this game is. Like you
do that.
That's where
we'll take a break. We'll take a break. Billy's going to look up. All right, he already got it. I thought it was going to be a tease. Bring them back. Find out what channel the game's on, but that's okay. We're giving it to you now.
Sorry.
That one's on Prime. We take a break. We come back. We talk 49ers Eagles. The Ringer NFL show is brought to you by FanDuel. Football fans, we've waited all season for this. It's time to flip the switch to playoff mode on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, all FanDuel customers can get in on the action with a wild card reward for the NFL wild card round. Just pick your card and you can win up to a 100% profit boost. Head to FanDuel.com/RingerNFL for a chance to double your winnings for the NFL wildcard round. Play your game with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL playoffs. 21 plus and present in select states, or 18 plus and present in DC, Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in required. Rewards are non-withdrawable. Restrictions apply, including bonus and token expiration, leg requirements, and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. All right, we are back on the Ringer NFL show. Third game, 49ers at the Eagles. Eagles are 4.5-point favorites in this game. If you want a big deep dive on the matchups and the analytics and the X's and O's, might I suggest the Ringer's Philly Special, a great podcast. They did a long deep dive on this. But Billy, to you, as someone who's not necessarily ingrained in one of these teams, what is the most interesting thing you have for this game?
So I was looking up, they didn't play this year, so I couldn't go back and I couldn't watch the game back and see how they did this year. However, I had a question for you, because in looking up the storylines and what's going on, I found out that a lot of people were talking about this being a revenge game from the 2023 NFC Championship game. Now, here's my question to you. Can you have a revenge game in the opening round of the playoffs years after that initial game happened? Because it felt like a stretch to me, but I'm not heavily involved in these fan bases, so I don't have a proper feel for the situation.
I believe that you can if like the main characters are the same, which they kind of are here. Nick Sirianni, Jalen Hurts on one side, Kyle Shanahan, and Brock Purdy on the other side. And I think the reason why that's a revenge game, Billy, is because if you remember that game, the Eagles, Hassan Reddick hits Brock Purdy in that game, suffers the elbow injury, and gets knocked out of the game. And so 49ers fans to this day, I think if you talk to them, they'll say, if we had Brock Purdy available for that game, we're beating the Eagles and we're playing in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. You talked about the big what-if moment for the Panthers and Rams earlier. That's kind of 49ers fans look at it that way. Then Eagles fans fire back. Your coach had a tight end blocking one of the leading sack getters in the NFL on that play. Have him come up with a better protection scheme. It was a clean hit. Just because your quarterback got injured, that's not our fault. You weren't beating us anyway in that game. And so this debate has been kind of just going on back and forth over the years. And so, yeah, I do think there's some of that revenge game DNA in this matchup.
It was one of the saddest and most disappointing NFC Championship games because you had so much expectations going into it, thinking like, wow, this is going to be a great one. And very quickly, it turned out not being one. But it's been years for the revenge.
Too long? Okay, that's fair.
I feel like if it's wild card weekend, super wild card weekend, whatever, it has to be later in the playoffs. Now, they don't control when they play each other. I mean, I guess they could have, because we talked about it earlier. Nick Sirianni did that thing where he decided to bench everyone and be healthy heading into the playoffs, which he did last year also and ended up working out for him. So, hey, Nick, if it's working out for you, why change what you're doing, right? But in the wild card, it feels like it can't be a thing. I do wonder, though, when are we going to start having a conversation about Kyle Shanahan and if he can kind of get over this hump that he's had in his career?
This is my most interesting thing. And I don't even know if it's about get over it's just like, how much longer can he do this? You know, like Kyle Shanahan's face, this man has been in our lives for a long time. You know, he was an assistant. Then he was he was the young up and coming coach, like, oh, this smart guy. He's on the Washington staff. He's the Browns OC. Then he's with the Falcons with Matt Ryan. And then he goes to the Niners. And if they fail this year to win the Super Bowl, that will be 9 years for Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco without a Super Bowl. And to me, this reminds me so much of the Andy Reid Eagles days, where you say, everyone would agree, Kyle Shanahan is one of the best coaches in the NFL. There's no doubt about it, has had all kinds of success there. At some point, is it just like, it's time for the next chapter? It's not happening here. Got to move on, maybe take a year off. He just looks like someone who could use a break. Like this year, he did a terrific job. They had all these injuries. They seem to always have all these injuries. There's always something. And so they're not really positioned to go on a Super Bowl run as far as I see it. This year would be unbelievable if they could. But if it doesn't happen, it's just going to be like, he's going to be miserable to be around. And they're just going to run it back next year. And they're going to try again next year. And I don't know. At some point, you just wonder, is like something going to give here? Or is it going to be 5 years from now and we're going to be like, Kyle Shanahan, great coach, 49ers still haven't won one?
Kyle Shanahan is in this situation. He has dealt with a lot of injuries his career. He's kind of been up and down. He has the really good years and he has the bad years, and it's always because of injuries. He's had to deal. I mean, he took Jimmy Garoppolo to a Super Bowl, which is a miracle in itself, right? And I think to your point, I think he may be the one that should kind of ask for the change of scenery. Similar to like a Tomlin situation where it's like, great coach, just maybe not the right fit here. But I don't know that this is the year for that, right? Like with the options available, Kyle Shanahan doesn't want any of these jobs that are out there right now.
No, I mean, they still won 12 games and they were decimated with injuries on defense specifically. And the offense, with Brock Purdy being injured and Mac Jones having to play, was still like a top 5 offense this year. So yeah, I don't think this is the year for it, but it just every failure, and the failure might be harsh. Every time they don't win the Super Bowl, every time it happens for them, and I see his like end of season, press conference, and I think back to the last time they lost the Super Bowl and, covering that one and seeing him, and it's just like this guy's face, like, I don't know, just from a physical, mental, emotional health standpoint, but as Bill Parcells used to say, NFL coaches are not well-adjusted people. So maybe that he's just like, listen, my dad was a coach. I'm a coach. This is what I'm going to continue to do. And when he finally does win it, I mean, I can't imagine the emotion that's going to pour out of Kyle Shanahan, assuming it happens at some point. But last thing, Billy, you were mentioning the ups and downs of the Niners. This is a crazy streak. Now, I know you bought the formerly Football Outsiders Almanac, now the FTN Almanac, before the season. You keep it there somewhere. I don't know if you sleep with it at night. You cuddle it up sometimes, like a little pillow. Yeah, sometimes. Okay. This was in there in the preseason, and I thought, this can't be true. Let me go check Pro Football Reference. And no, it was true. So good job by them. 22 straight years, the 49ers have either missed the playoffs completely or gotten to the NFC Championship game.
Oh.
Is that the craziest thing you've ever heard? So if they're in the playoffs, they're getting to the NFC Championship game at least. If they're not in they're not in the playoffs at all. So that's the biggest streak on the line here. Forget records, Trey McBride, Myles Garrett, Mike Tomlins. This is a very interesting streak to me that could come to an end this weekend.
Yeah, I didn't know this. This is, so are we rooting for or against this? I mean, we went out there on a limb and we said, we think the Panthers are going to win. Are we ready to go out on the limb and say that we're rooting? Yeah, I mean, this is, you're in an additionally bad spot here on this situation. I think you have to say you want the streak to end, right?
I mean, I don't have to, but I kind of think it's a nice matchup for the Eagles when you look at all the injuries on defense with the 49ers and Eagles playing at home. They haven't lost a home playoff game with Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni. They've outscored opponents by 21 points per game. So I feel like it's a nice spot for the Eagles, but the Eagles offense could just come out and be terrible and the 49ers could easily move on. That wouldn't surprise me. So there you go. All right. We put a bow on it. That is the NFC playoff slate. And that game is on Fox, Billy. Correct.
That game is on Fox, and Tom Brady is calling that certified loser.
Okay. So, all right. And you will be keeping an eye on what Tom Brady's doing before and after that game. And we'll have a rundown for us on Sunday night if necessary. Correct?
Sure.
Let's say sure. Up for that. I'm signing you up for that right now. All right, there you go. His name is Billy Gil. No hurry up today. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thank you to Christopher Sutton for producing, Stefano Sanchez for video editing, and Kiera Givens on social. Additional production supervision by Conor Nevins and Arjuna Ramgopowell. I'm Sheil Kapadia. We will talk to you tomorrow on the Ringer NFL Show. Must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. Or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.